Hey guys, tonight we're slipping into the darkest corners of ancient Rome, not the marble palaces or golden temples, but the alleys where the light of respectability doesn't quite reach, where a girl's future could be decided before she could walk, and your best hope was surviving the week. Welcome to the world of Roman prostitution. Spoiler alert, you probably won't survive this. So before you get comfortable, take a moment to like the video and subscribe, but only if you genuinely enjoy what I do here. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and what time it is for you. Now dim the lights, maybe turn on a fan for that soft background hum. And let's ease into tonight's journey together. You don't get a choice in this life. You're born poor, maybe to a slave mother, maybe left at the steps of a temple, maybe just unlucky. A Roman household takes you in, but not as family. Your property, a mouth to feed, only if you're useful. And if you're a girl with no dowry, no connections, and no protection, well, Rome has a use for you. You're sold probably before you turn 10. Maybe to a Leno, a pimp. Maybe to a brothel that disguises itself as a tavern. Maybe even to a trainer, if you're lucky. Not the fun kind of trainer. The kind who teaches you how to apply rouge laugh on cue and pretend that your body isn't the only thing on the menu. Historians still argue whether children were officially trafficked into Roman brothels or whether that was just a black market thing. Either way, by the time your body matures, your fate is already sealed. You don't remember what freedom felt like because you never had it. They strip your name first. You're renamed something catchy, performative, marketable. Chloris, maybe. Delicia. Something sugary that contrasts nicely with the iron chains of your life. Some brothels even brand you, literally, with hot iron. A mark of ownership, like livestock. Sometimes it's a tattoo on your forehead. Sometimes a metal collar with your owner's name. Welcome to the family. You learn early not to cry. It ruins the illusion. Clients don't want tears. They want smiles, seduction, submission. Cry later if you get a later. They teach you to dance. Not the elegant temple dances you see in noble villas. This is more rhythmic suggestion. You learn how to sit just right, smile just enough, and speak in sultry riddles, even if you're dying inside. You're expected to flirt, joke, tease, but never say no. Oh, and your virginity. That's a product launch, sold separately. Some high-paying customer gets that honor. Not for love, not for romance, just the privilege of saying they were first. There's usually wine involved, and not for you. You're now part of a system, part actress, part servant, part commodity. You live above or behind the brothel if you're lucky. If not, you sleep in a corner of the main room when the clients are gone. No locks, no privacy, just the lingering smell of too many cheap perfumes and broken dreams. Sometimes there's a hierarchy. Older women who've been there longer get better rooms or fewer clients. Sometimes they help you, teach you tricks to survive. Sometimes they steal your bread, your food, whatever's left after the innkeeper feeds the patrons. Half a fish, crusty bread, wine, so watered down, it's basically history-flavored soup. No one checks if you're hungry. You eat what's given, or you don't eat. Some nights you're booked by men with coin. Some days you're told to stand by the door and smile in case someone's browsing. You're not a person. You're inventory. Quirky, historical tidbit. Romans loved graffiti. Brothels had it everywhere. Men would scratch their reviews on the walls. Lupa was good with her mouth. Felix paid 2 denarii, said it was worth 3. Imagine living where your Yelp reviews are carved into stone above your head. And if you think you can run away, think again. You'd be hunted. If you're a slave, that's a stolen asset. If you're a freed woman, breaking your work contract could land you in jail. Even if you managed to flee, where would you go? Who would hire you? You're tainted now. A woman who's been touched, sold used. Society sees you as broken merchandise. You might daydream about a kind patron. A rich man who visits often treats you gently, maybe promises to buy your freedom. Sometimes that happens. And sometimes he changes his mind, or dies, or forgets you exist. Historians still debate how common those redemption stories were. The records are fuzzy, probably because so many didn't end well. And if you get pregnant, well, either you're forced to keep working anyway, or you're quietly sent away. No prenatal care, no midwives, no rights. The baby often sold, or abandoned, or raised in the same system that made you. This is your life, not a romantic tryst, not an erotic tale, just exhaustion, exploitation, and the endless sound of footsteps in the hallway. Footsteps that always mean someone else is coming. Someone who thinks they own a piece of you just because they paid. And somehow, this is only the beginning. You're not just owned, you're displayed. Branded and renamed, yes, but also paraded. Not in chariots or on litters like a noble bride, but in doorways under oil lamps next to faded murals of Venus and Mars doing things that'd make a fresco blush. Every Roman walking by knows exactly what you are. There's no blending and no chance of mistaken identity. The outfit gives it away. You're not wearing a stola, the dignified gown of a matron. That would be illegal, literally. Roman law forbids prostitutes from wearing the attire of respectable women. So you wear the tunic short and cinched, practical for business, impractical for dignity. You might be wearing jewelry, cheap stuff, maybe glass beads, or bronze bangles, but meant to draw the eye. If you're lucky, it's yours. If you're not, it's on loan, part of the illusion you have value. Spoiler, it gets taken back at the end of the night. Some women paint their faces chalk for pale skin ash, for eyeliner, lead-based rouge for cheeks. Yes, lead. It gives that Roman glow right before it gives you irreversible poisoning. Historians still argue whether makeup was universally expected or just common in certain brothels. But one thing's certain, if you're not attractive, you're not making money. You're positioned near the front entrance, like a human shop window. Brothel doors often had paintings of the women inside, or at least of their services. Some had graffiti menus on the wall, with names and prices etched like lunch specials. Imagine standing next to a doodle of yourself, mid-pose, with a caption like Tertia 1 as backroom. That's not a joke. 1 as was a bronze coin, barely worth a loaf of bread. You might be sold for the price of a cheap lunch. Rome didn't care if you were tired, ill, or hurting. As long as your door was open and you were standing, business continued. And what about your clients? They weren't all sleazy old men with wine breath and fish guts on their tunics. Though yes, many were. Some were soldiers on leave still smelling of the provinces. Others were young noblemen out to prove their manhood with something exotic. Some came drunk. Some came angry. And some came silent, cold, and calculating. There's no safe word in ancient Rome. No do not disturb sign. If a client gets violent, too bad. You complain to your Leno, the brothel manager, or pimp, and he shrugs. Maybe the client paid extra. Maybe he's a friend of a senator. Maybe you're just not worth the trouble. And then comes the aftermath. You're sore. You're bruised. You're not even sure whose blood that was. You clean up with a rag and water from a chipped amphora that smells like vinegar. There's no soap, no warm towel, no comforting music or soft lighting. Just stone walls, creaky beds, and the low murmur of the next customer approaching. And heaven help you if you're slow. Time is coin. If you're not ready in 5 minutes, you're lazy. If you cry, you're unprofessional. If you collapse, you're useless. Quirky fact: Roman brothels were often located near bathhouses, taverns, and marketplaces. Convenient, right by a fish, drink a jug of wine, then rent a person. The city was designed to make it easy. It's not just that sex work was tolerated, it was systematized, normalized, monetized. But normal doesn't mean safe. Disease was everywhere. No germ theory, no gloves, no antibiotics. If you caught something, and you probably did it spread quickly. Clients didn't care, and neither did your boss. You're replaceable. There's always another girl arriving from some rural village, confused and scared just like you were. You might try herbal remedies. Boil some willow bark. Chew a bitter root. If you're lucky, it dulls the pain. If you're unlucky, it poisons you. And through all of this, you smile. You smile because that's the only thing left. If you frown, clients get uncomfortable. If you cry, they mock you. So you grit your teeth and joke about the weather flirt with a man twice your age and hope the next one doesn't smell too much like fermented olives. Some girls try to sing. Others tell jokes. You find your angle and perform like your life depends on it, because it does. Historians debate whether Roman prostitutes had any days off. Most say no. The only reprieve came when you were too sick to stand or when the brothel closed for a festival. Even then, your work wasn't done. You still had to clean, cook, and smile in case a rich client came knocking. And if you dared to say no, to refuse a man, that wasn't defiance. That was rebellion. You'd be punished, fined, beaten, or worse. Maybe sent to a lower-tier brothel, the kind with no roof, or made to serve clients with debts. You might even be put in the solarium, a basement room, used for punishment or special clients. No candles, just stone shadows and silence. You tell yourself you're surviving, that someday you'll save enough coin to buy your freedom. But the prices keep going up, and your value keeps going down. And each night, as you lie on your side to avoid the bruises, you whisper the same silent prayer. Please, let tomorrow be better. It's a new day in the brothel. Not that it feels particularly new. The air still smells like old wine, old sweat, and older despair. Your body aches in familiar places. Your hair is stuck to your face, and you've slept, if you can call it that, on a straw mat with 2 other girls and a broken curtain for privacy. Welcome to another shift. You stretch, careful not to wince too loudly. There's no room for weakness here. The Leno is already stomping around, jangling his coin purse like a cowbell to wake everyone up. You shuffle to your feet and splash your face with water from a bowl that looks like it's hosted more lice than liquid. Your tunic from yesterday is still damp. Someone knocked over a wine jug in the night, and it soaked your pile of clothing. No one claims responsibility. No one apologizes. The hierarchy in the brothel is fluid, tribal, and mostly unwritten, but everyone knows when you're at the bottom of it. Breakfast is a chunk of barley bread and a handful of olives that taste like they've retired. You eat while standing. You always eat while standing. It keeps you from nodding off again, and it's not like there's a table. The brothel door creaks open, and sunlight spills into the entry, like it doesn't know where it is. Dust hangs in the air. The frescoes on the walls are already cracked and fading cartoons of idealized bodies frozen in impossible poses painted decades ago to entice clients. They don't look like you. They never did. You spend the morning cleaning. Not just yourself, though. A splash in a communal bucket passes for bathing, but the whole building. Wiping stains off walls, scraping wax off the floor, shaking straw out of mattresses that never get dry. Then it's time to put on the face. No mirror, just guesswork. A smear of ash for eyeliner, a dab of red clay. For lips, a little perfume oil, if you can find any. You tie your hair back or pin it up, depending on what's fashionable among the clientele this week. Blonde wigs are in, especially the cheap ones dyed with goat urine. Historians still argue whether prostitutes wore wigs as a marketing trick or because bleaching real hair was too dangerous. Either way, your scalp itches like it's being judged. Now the real work begins. You take your spot by the doorway again. A few of the other girls laugh too loud, trying to catch early traffic. You don't bother. You're not new enough to be exotic, not old enough to be wise. You're just there, middle shelf. A man enters already shouting for wine. He stinks of sweat, and sandal leather tosses a few copper coins on the counter and points. Not at you, not this time. He chooses a younger girl, maybe 14, maybe 13. No one checks. The girl doesn't flinch. She's too practiced or too numb. You exhale and wait, and then it happens. You're picked. He's older, round, wearing a toga that cost more than your freedom. He calls you by the wrong name. Says he saw you last week. He didn't. But you nod. You smile. You lead him to the back room, where the bed creaks louder than the conversation. The session is over fast, and it still feels too long. You straighten your tunic pocket, your cut one as, and a chipped bronze token. The Leno takes most of it, of course. House fee, protection fee, existence fee. You'll get a sliver, just enough to buy bread, not enough to save. And there are no tips in this business. You go back out front, already bracing for the next one. They don't stagger your clients. They overlap. As one leaves, another enters. Sometimes they wait in line. Sometimes they don't. And when traffic slows, you're put to other uses. Laundry, kitchen duty, helping new girls fake confidence. Sometimes you're sent out into the street to advertise. That means leaning on a column, trying to look seductive without looking desperate. It's a balancing act, like trying to flirt while drowning. You pass the bathhouse on your rounds. There's laughter inside, wealthy women gossiping, noblemen lounging. You used to imagine yourself there. Now you imagine stealing their robes and running. Not because you think it would work, just because it's a fun daydream to play between jobs. A quirky fact, Roman bathhouses were often used for more than bathing. Some had attached brothels. Some were brothels. And some just pretended not to notice what happened in the steam rooms. You return to the brothel just before sunset. There's dinner stew made from last week's vegetables and this week's indifference. You eat it with a piece of stale bread that's somehow both dry and damp. You chew it anyway. Hunger wins, and you laugh. Not because anything's funny, but because one of the girls told a joke about a senator who paid her with a button instead of a coin. You all pretend it's hilarious. You laugh until your stomach hurts, and then you cry. Quietly. Into your bowl. Because you're still here. And tomorrow, you will be again. Night doesn't bring rest. It brings different clients, different dangers, and a different flavor of exhaustion. By dusk, the city starts humming. Taverns swell with drunk soldiers, sailors on leave, and merchants who think a coin buys them not just a body, but a story. You light the oil lamps. They're smoky, sooty little things that make the room feel warmer, but never more inviting. The shadows on the wall dance across faded murals, stretching limbs in ways that real bodies never could. You've stared at those painted gods so long, you've given them names. They never answer. They only watch. There's no lock on the brothel door. The Leno says it's for business reasons, but you know it's so you can never really feel safe. A man can walk in at any hour. He doesn't knock. He doesn't need to. The first night client is already halfway drunk. His breath smells like sour grapes and regret. He slurs something about loving you, about knowing your soul. You nod and laugh. He leaves before he finishes, either because of the wine or the shame. Probably both. He forgets his sandal. You don't return it. Then comes the real entertainment. Two men togaed and loud, wanting to try something fun. That means you. And another girl. They pay double and demand spectacle. You go through the motions while trying not to gag on the smell of wine and arrogance. Afterward, they leave behind 2 half-eaten figs and 1 gold ring that you're not allowed to keep. The Leno collects the ring and pats your shoulder like you're a gladiator who survived the arena. You feel like something trampled beneath it. Now it's late. You sit by the hearth, rubbing your ankles, and watching the embers die. Another girl hums a lullaby from her village. You don't know the words, but the melody reminds you of something soft, something before this life. Then the door creaks again. A regular. He's clean, polite, even smiles. And that almost makes it worse. He tells you you're beautiful. He asks your name, even though he knows it. He holds your hand like you're a person, not a purchase. But he still pays, and he still leaves. You lie back afterward, staring at the cracked ceiling. One of the beams looks ready to fall. Part of you hopes it does. Quirky historical tidbit: Roman brothels were sometimes named like inns or taverns. Names like Lupanar Felicitatis, House of Happiness, or Venus in Chains. Advertising at its most ironic. And inside, nothing but stone beds, no mattresses, and maybe a wooden door if the room was luxury. You fall asleep without intending to, just for a few minutes. Then you wake again to shouting outside. A drunk man arguing with a bread vendor. You curl tighter into yourself and close your eyes. Sleep is never deep. There's always noise, always footsteps, always the chance that someone else is coming through that door. You used to dream of escape, of being bought by a kind patron, of opening your own shop, maybe selling perfume or silk or baked honey cakes. You practiced your sales pitch. Welcome, good sir, best cents in the market. You even picked a shop name, Fortuna's Favor. Now you dream of silence. Not freedom, not wealth. Just a place where no one calls your name at night. Where you can sleep without flinching. Where you can eat a meal without feeling like you earned it the worst way. Historians still argue how common these quiet dreams were. Whether prostitutes had hopes, plans, fantasies. But the bones they left behind don't tell us much. No journals, no letters, just worn teeth-bent spines and traces of mercury in the hair from lead-based makeup. And then there are the nights you don't sleep at all because the Leno rents out your room. Not to clients, but to gamblers, or smugglers, or drunk officials looking for a quiet place to play dice and talk politics. You're ordered to serve them wine, sit nearby, and look decorative, like a vase that could answer back. They don't ask questions. They don't care who you are. They make bets about which one of you will cry first, or who can hold the most wine without collapsing. One man offers you a coin to drink from his cup. You don't. He laughs, then shouts, then throws the wine in your face. It stings, but it's better than what he could have thrown. Eventually they leave. The floor is sticky. The room smells like sweat and spilled vinegar. You wipe your face with a rag and wait for dawn, because dawn means survival. If you've made it to morning, you've beaten the odds. And the sun, even when it peeks through the soot-blackened window, feels like a small win. A reminder that you're still here, bruised, tired, barely human, but here. And in this life that's a victory, you're up before the city. That's the rule. If you're still lying down when the first cart clatters past the alley you're behind, the Leno notices. He always notices. You splash cold water on your face again, not because it helps, but because it's the closest thing to feeling awake. The bucket is low gritty from ash and yesterday's washcloths. You hold your breath and rinse anyway. Today is market day, and for you, that means more clients, more traffic, more eyes. The alley outside the brothel fills quickly. Vendors shout about olives and garum. Donkeys bray. Somewhere a chicken starts running and forgets why. You press yourself into the doorway and try to look. Inviting, not desperate. Definitely not tired, but not too confident either. Men hate that. There's already a queue forming down the street, not for you, for the bakery next door. The scent of warm bread floats into your face like a cruel joke. You haven't had fresh bread since last Calends, when a client brought half a loaf and called it romance. The Leno barks at you to smile. You do. It's automatic now. Your mouth smiles even when your eyes are pleading with the gods to invent invisibility. Mid-morning, a man arrives wearing a tunic, dyed just enough to say, middle class, but pretending. He picks you. He smells like almonds and ambition. Tells you he's new in town here on business. You've heard this script before. You play your part. Afterwards, he thanks you. You nod. You're already thinking about laundry, or possibly wine, maybe both. He leaves and your pay is handed over, not to you, of course. The Leno collects it. He always collects it. You might get your cut by evening. Maybe, if you don't ask too many questions. You step outside to get air, though there's none to be found. The street is crowded. The sky is hazy with cook fires, and your skin itches with dust. A boy runs past shouting about figs. You flinch. Fast movement always does that now. And then something unusual happens. A woman approaches. Not a client, not a brothel worker, a matrona. You can tell by the stola and the way everyone clears space around her like she's made of sacred fire. She walks past you slowly, doesn't speak, doesn't stop. But her eyes skim over you with a glance that says everything, disgust, pity, and just the faintest curl of curiosity. You've seen that look before. In temples, in bathhouses, on benches at the circus. It's the look of a respectable Roman woman, realizing with horror that you're still human. You duck your head and go back inside. The day wears on. The walls of the brothel feel smaller by the hour. The oil lamps are low, the air thick. Another girl is coughing a deep chesty thing that sounds like winter. You offer her a bit of wine from your cup. She nods, but doesn't speak. Her name is Celia. You think. Names change often here, sometimes for safety, sometimes just to make clients think they're meeting someone new. She used to be beautiful, probably still is beneath the bruises and the hollow cheeks. You remember when she first arrived? Rosy cheeks, nervous giggle, still hopeful. Now she watches the door, like it's a lion cage, and you know she's counting days. Not upward. Down. You wonder how long you have left. Quirky fact brothel rooms in Pompeii were often built without windows, and the doors didn't lock. Privacy wasn't just discouraged, it was structurally impossible. Historians still debate whether this was for safety or simply convenience for the Leno. Probably both. By afternoon, your legs ache from standing. You try to sit down just for a moment, but the Leno snaps at you. Business hours. You smile again and return to the doorway. You see a familiar face in the crowd. A soldier. He's been here before. Big hands, thick beard, kind voice. Last time he asked your name, your real one. You didn't tell him, but you wanted to. He sees you, nods, and walks on. Maybe he's on duty. Maybe he's broke. Maybe he's ashamed. You feel a pinch of something like disappointment, which you smother immediately. Hope is dangerous in this place. Celia gets chosen again. Her client is loud. He pulls her by the wrist like she's a jug of wine. She doesn't resist. She never does. But when she passes you, her fingers brush your hand. It's the softest thing you've felt in weeks. By sundown, the sky turns a dull gold, and the alley is quieter. Your stomach grumbles, but you wait. Dinner isn't served until the last client leaves, and there's always one who lingers. Tonight, it's a man who smells like wax and parchment, a scribe, a tax collector. He talks while you undress, says he's writing a book about Roman virtues. You think about laughing, but you don't. He asks questions while he pays. Where are you from? What's your favorite flower? Do you believe in the gods? You don't answer. Not because you don't have answers, because none of them matter here. After he's gone, you sit by the back wall eyes, fixed on a crack in the ceiling. It looks like a snake winding across the plaster. You think about tracing it with your finger just to feel something smooth. Dinner is finally served. Pottage with barley and lentils. No meat, no salt. You eat it anyway, slowly, as if chewing longer will make it last. Celia doesn't eat. She's already asleep, curled up in the corner, like a worn shawl. You cover her with your own tunic. You'll be cold tonight, but at least someone won't. As you lie down, the sounds of the city quiet. Somewhere nearby, someone plays a flute. Not well, but gently. You close your eyes and pretend it's for you. And for a moment, you forget where you are. Morning isn't announced with sunlight. It's declared by shouting. Someone's already arguing in the street about bread prices, and a cart rolls by with a broken wheel that shrieks with every turn. Welcome back to consciousness. You slept maybe 4 hours, maybe 5. You don't remember if you dreamed. If you did, it wasn't worth holding on to. You rise slowly, brushing straw from your arms. Your neck aches. So does your back. You reach for your tunic, still damp. It never fully dries in here. The air is too thick, too sour, too full of other people's breath. But it's all you've got. Today is a festival day in Rome. That means crowds. That means coin. That means you'll be worked harder than usual. The Leno is already buzzing around, barking instructions like an over-caffeinated rooster. Smile more, stand straighter. Use the front entrance today. He's got plans, and none of them involve your comfort. You catch a glimpse of yourself in a polished bronze platter. It's not a mirror, but it'll do. You tilt it. Yep, still you. A little more tired. A little less curious. but still here. You pinch your cheeks to fake color, wet your lips with water, and wrap your hair in a makeshift braid. The city's celebrating today, Saturnalia maybe, or the triumph of some general returning from a war you've never even heard of. Doesn't matter. The only parade you'll see is a line of sweaty men ready to spend their winnings. You're assigned to the front today. Prime real estate. You stand by the threshold where foot traffic is thickest. The Leno even gave you one of the cleaner cushions to sit on prestige. Or maybe he's trying to impress someone. A potential investor, maybe. Brothels, after all, were business. And you, like everything else in it, are inventory. The crowds are thicker than usual. You spot priests in white robes tossing rose petals, young men in wreaths, chanting songs they barely understand, children clinging to their mothers' tunics, with wide eyes and sticky fingers. There's laughter, music, even a little dancing. And amid all this festivity, men glance at you, whisper, nod. You don't wave. You don't need to. You just make eye contact. Briefly, then look away. It's the trick you offer a glimpse of interest just enough to make them think they chose you. That's the illusion, that they still have choice, that you do. Your first customer smells like frankincense and anxiety, a merchant probably. He pays quickly, rushes through the act, then lingers, as if ashamed. You pat his hand. You're not sure why. Maybe to get him to leave faster. Maybe because part of you pities him. The second is younger, louder, hungrier. He's here to celebrate. He tells you so 3 times. Says he's just won a horse race bet. Says he wants to share the luck. You let him think he has. He doesn't tip. Between clients, you eat half a fig and some cheese that's more ambition than dairy. It's enough to keep your legs from shaking. But just barely. Celia is working beside you again. She's paler today. Her lips look blue around the edges. You offer her the rest of your fig. She shakes her head. Too tired to chew, probably. You both hear the rumors, the whispers, about girls who go silent one day and don't wake up. The Leno never talks about them. Their mats are just rolled up. Their names scratched off the wall, like they were chalk-knot people. There's a pause in the crowd, then suddenly clapping. A nobleman approaches, not just noble wealthy. The toga alone could pay for your freedom twice over. He's flanked by servants. You're sure he's here for someone else, but no. He points at you. You're led to the back room, given wine, the good kind for once. A servant even fans you for a moment before leaving. You're confused, cautious, but you smile. The man is polite, gentle, almost kind. He asks questions. Not invasive ones, just odd ones. Do you like birds? Have you ever seen the sea? You answer carefully. You say you like birds. You say you've dreamed of the sea. You do not say you've never seen more than a puddle deep enough to drown in. He pays well. Double your usual fee. Leaves a coin in your hand and says, "For the dream." You don't ask what he means. You know better than to chase meaning here. After he's gone, you sit alone in the room for a moment longer than allowed. The Leno knocks once impatient. You nod and return to the front. The festival roars on. Children throw petals. A pig is paraded past, oiled and garlanded, its eyes wide with confusion. You wonder if it knows its fate, if animals feel dread, or if that's just a human luxury. Quirky historical note, during some Roman festivals, even slaves were allowed to play master for a day, and Saturnalia roles were reversed briefly. Even prostitutes got to joke with clients, mock their Leno, pretend just for an afternoon that they had power. You try it. Just once. You call a man Syrah and wink. He laughs. You do too. For a second you forget your back hurts. Then the moment passes, and so does he. Evening settles in like dust, thick, slow, uninvited. The music fades. The vendors pack up. The petals on the ground are trampled into paste. And you're still standing there, catching the final eyes of men too drunk to remember your name. You help Celia back to the mat when it's over. She's shivering. You wrap her in your arms and hum an old tune. She doesn't respond, but her breathing slows. And you whisper, "Today was almost kind." You almost believe it. There's a kind of ache that goes beyond your muscles, an ache that lives in your bones, that settles into your spine like a second skeleton. You wake up with it today. No screaming outside, no spilled wine on your tunic. Just pain humming low and constant like a funeral drumbeat you've gotten too used to. Celia's still curled beside you. She's not shivering anymore. But she's not moving either. You don't check if she's breathing. You just get up. The Leno doesn't mention her. He never does when one of you stops waking up. He just steps over her mat, like it's an inconvenient stone. Later, some of the other girls will strip it, toss the straw, and sweep the corner clean. That's the Roman way, efficient, silent, and surgical. You splash your face, you dress. You go to the front room like nothing happened, because pretending nothing happened is the only way to keep happening. Today's a normal day. No festival. No procession. Just Rome grinding forward, coin by coin like it always does. The street is dusty, the sky cloudless, and the air tastes like baked brick and regret. You're put on laundry duty, which sounds like a break, but isn't. You carry armfuls of stained tunics to the communal washing area behind the brothel, where the sun doesn't shine and the water smells faintly of boiled feet. There's a stone basin half full. You scrub with a rag that used to be white and a bar of soap so dry it splinters. Laundry in Rome isn't glamour, it's war. The stains don't come out. They're not supposed to. You're not supposed to get clean. You're supposed to look passably unfilthy. You hang the wet tunics over a line made of old rope and stolen hope. Then you turn to clean the floors. The floor in the brothel is stone, uneven, cracked, and permanently stained. Some marks are from wine, some from blood. You don't ask which is which. You mop it with a rag and a bucket of vinegar water. Your knees ache, your fingers cramp, and then the door creaks. Work begins again. Your first customer of the day is silent. He doesn't speak once, not to you, not even to himself. He smells like copper and meat. He stares straight through you, like he's looking for someone else inside your face. You don't ask what he wants. You just do what's expected. Afterwards, he pays. Overpays, actually. You don't tell him. You pocket the extra coin, even though you'll have to hand it over to the Leno. Maybe he won't count. Maybe he'll be distracted. He isn't. You pass him the money, and he clicks his tongue. Trying to get clever, you shake your head. He gave extra. He glares, then pockets the coin. You're not worth extra, he says, like he's correcting a mistake in an inventory. You go back to the corner and sit your hands folded in your lap like you're praying. You aren't. The gods don't come here. Even Mercury the trickster avoids this place. There's a myth that prostitutes could appeal to Venus for protection. Some girls even kept little statues of her by their mats. You had one once. You lost it when the ceiling leaked and the clay dissolved. She didn't answer anyway. A customer comes in later who wants to talk, not about you, about himself. He's a minor official, something to do with tax grain. He tells you how unfair it is that he hasn't been promoted, how his cousin got a better job, how his wife doesn't understand him, how his mother's ill, how he thinks the gods are punishing him. You say, and really, and that must be hard. You are a sponge. You absorb complaints, like you absorb everything else silently and fully. He doesn't pay well, but he says, you're a good listener. You nod. You've heard it before. Later, you clean out the back room. Someone left a tunic soaked with wine and what might be worse. You drag it out with a stick and toss it into the wash pile. Then you sweep. Then you mop. Then you sit again. Another girl, named Livia, new maybe 16, asks you what it's like. She means everything. You don't answer right away. She asks, does it get better? You look at her. She still wears her hair in braids, still has hope in her voice, still believes there might be a ladder out of this pit. You tell her the truth. No. But you get better at pretending it has. Quirky fact, Roman law required prostitutes to register with city officials. They were given a license meretrix legitima and even taxed for their earnings. Some historians argue this gave them legal recognition. Others say it was just a more efficient way for Rome to profit off their suffering. You've never seen your license. You wonder what it says. Your name. Your fake one, probably. Your specialties. Your brothel's name. Your owner's name. Not your birthday. Not your real age. Not your dreams. Night falls quietly. No music. No festival. Just the city dimming like a dying fire. You eat a crust of bread and a cup of wine so watered down it might be soup. Celia's corner is empty now. Her blanket is gone. Her name scratched off the list. You don't ask where she went. You already know. You lie down and face the wall. You close your eyes, and for a moment you imagine you're free. You're walking by the Tiber at sunrise, wearing a clean stola, carrying a basket of bread you baked yourself. No one calls to you. No one follows. You're just a woman, alone, safe. Then the floor creaks. The door opens, and you remember where you are. The thing about disease is it doesn't knock. It slides in through the cracks, through bad food, dirty water, old linens, open mouths, and closed windows. It doesn't ask who you are. It doesn't care how hard you work or how many clients you've served. It just moves in, settles deep, and dares you to notice before it's too late. This morning, you wake up with a sore throat and a heavy head. It could be nothing, or it could be the beginning of something permanent. You don't have the luxury of checking. There's no doctor for you, not even a midwife. If you collapse, you get moved to the back room until you can stand again or until you don't. Rome's brothel economy doesn't allow for sick days. You sit up slowly. Your joints crack like old pottery. Someone else coughs across the room, a dry hacking thing. You recognize the sound. It's what Celia had. You chew a mint leaf you've been saving. Not because it'll help, because it's the only nice thing you've tasted in days. The flavor fades fast, but the memory lingers. By midday, you're sweating. Not from heat. Rome is warm, but not oppressive today. No, this sweat is internal. Your body trying to flush out something it can't name. You still go to work. The Leno doesn't ask how you're feeling. He never does. But he glances at you and makes a face. Powder your cheeks, he says. You look half dead. You obey. You smear clay powder on your face, trying not to cough. Your reflection in the basin looks like a statue about to crack. Your first customer complains that your hands are cold. He's not wrong. You apologize and press them to the oil lamp for a few seconds just to warm them. It helps. a little. But every breath feels heavier than the last. Quirky historical tidbit. Roman physicians, those who could afford one, believed illness came from imbalanced humors. Too much black bile. You're melancholic. Too much phlegm. Congratulations, you're doomed to bed rest. For prostitutes, though, the cure was usually to keep working until the body gave out or somehow healed itself. You're not expecting a miracle. You sip vinegar water. It burns your throat. Still better than nothing. By afternoon, your voice is mostly gone. You communicate with nods and gestures. Clients don't seem to mind. Some even like it. Better less talking, more pretending. You get assigned to laundry again. Probably because the Leno suspects you're contagious. Washing clothes in cold water with your arms shaking feels like punishment. Your fingers turn numb. You keep dropping things. Then something strange happens. A woman arrives. Not a client. Not a matrona. A healer, maybe. She has a basket of herbs and a face like cracked marble beautiful, once hardened by time. She speaks with the Leno, quiet, firm. She walks past you, stops, and sets down the basket. You glance inside. Chamomile. Thyme. Something that might be feverfew. Real herbs. She doesn't speak, just presses a sachet into your hand. Wrapped in cloth. Still warm. You hold it like it might vanish. Then she leaves. You don't ask who sent her. Maybe a client with a conscience. Maybe a ghost of a girl who didn't make it. You sleep with that sachet under your head that night, just for comfort. Historians still argue whether prostitutes had access to healers or midwives. Some claim temple workers offered aid. Others say only the wealthy could afford even basic care. Whatever the truth, one thing is consistent: if you got sick, you were on your own. By evening, the fever breaks a little. You're not better, but you can stand again. That's enough. Dinner is a broth. Someone, maybe Livia, traded extra coins for better food tonight. You're given half a cup. It tastes like real vegetables, and you almost cry from the flavor. The girls say nothing, but they pass you the bowl first. That's the thing here. In between the cruelty, the emptiness, the endless buyers and losses, there are still moments. Small mercies. Quiet solidarity. No one says the word sister, but sometimes it feels like it. Later, a man arrives. New. He picks you. You consider refusing, but you can't. Not if you want to keep your spot. Not if you want to eat tomorrow. He's rough, impatient, but fast. After you sit in the corner and breathe through your mouth because your nose is too swollen. Your head pounds like a temple drum. You sip more vinegar water. Try not to shiver. Count your breaths. In, out, in, out. You wonder what death smells like. If it's different than this room. The night ends quietly. No screams. No laughter. Just slow breathing and the occasional rustle of a blanket. You lie down next to Livia. She's humming to herself, something old. You don't recognize the words. Where'd you learn that you whisper hoarse? My mother, she says. She used to sing it when we were picking olives. You nod. You want to ask her if she thinks her mother would recognize her now, but you don't. Some questions don't deserve answers. Instead, you hum the melody back to her. Off key, but soft. She smiles in the dark, and for once, the brothel feels almost still. Not safe, but still. The smell hits you first. Before the sun rises, before the door opens, before you've even sat up, it's there, sharp, acrid, and bitter with the tang of infection. It's not coming from you, though you're not far off. It's from the corner. Another girl. Her wound reopened. Maybe from a rough client. maybe from being jostled too hard in her sleep. She doesn't say anything, just presses a cloth against her thigh and lies very still. Her eyes are open, wide, focused on something far away, like she's trying to imagine another place. You look away. That's how it works here. If you see too much, you start to care. If you care, you start to hope. And hope in this life is a dangerous side effect. The Leno barks for water. Someone hands him a jug. He pours it cold and fast into a basin and tells the girl to clean herself. He offers no help, no herbs, no bandage, no time. By the time she limps past you, her tunic stained and clinging, she doesn't even look ashamed. She looks numb. You envy her for that. You go to your spot near the doorway and take a deep breath. Regret it instantly. The street smells of manure and spoiled meat. Somewhere, someone's roasting something sweet, and it turns your stomach. Today's going to be long. A client arrives early. Too early. He's clearly been drinking all night. Smells like sour wine and old lemons. He smiles like he knows you. He doesn't. They never do. Had you last month, he slurs. You nod. You weren't here last month. That was probably Tulia. She looked like you once. The man fumbles with his coin pouch. Drops it. You pick it up. He grins as if your politeness is affection. You lead him to a side room, avoiding the cracks in the floor. The room smells faintly of mold and wax. He falls asleep midway. You pull your tunic back up and sit on the edge of the bed waiting. You don't want to wake him. You don't want to be here when he does. But you don't have a choice. When he finally stirs, he's embarrassed. Apologizes. Leaves quickly. You get paid. A half coin. Not even a full ass. The Leno frowns, but pockets it. You ask, "Can I take a break?" He shrugs. As long as someone else is on the door. You step outside. The air is brighter now. Still foul, but brighter. You find a patch of wall and lean against it. There's a boy selling figs nearby. He offers you one. You blink. Did he mistake you for someone else? He grins. Leftovers, he says, tossing it into your hand. You stare at it like it's a ruby. You eat slowly. It's the first thing you've tasted in days that doesn't feel like punishment. Across the alley, two girls from another brothel wave to you. One has a bandaged wrist. The other's missing 2 teeth. They still laugh. Loud, like they dare the city to quiet them. You wave back. And for a moment, you don't feel invisible. Inside, the day goes on. Clients shuffle in. The same questions. The same hands. The same exchange of coin and silence. One man insists on talking. He wants to know your name. Your real one. You lie. You always lie. He tells you his. It's Marcus. Probably isn't. He's gentle, though. Sings a little tune while you both undress. A sailor's song. Says it keeps him calm. You ask the sea scare you. He says no, but lands worse. You don't ask why. You already know. Quirky tidbit. Roman sailors often feared being buried inland, believing their souls would wander without the sea to guide them. Some would carry small vials of seawater around their necks just in case. Marcus leaves behind a bronze pendant. On purpose, you think. You tuck it under your mat. Evening brings fewer clients. That's the rhythm here. Days blur together, but the pattern remains. Festivals swell the traffic. Rain chases it away. And some nights, there's a strange hush, like the city's holding its breath. Tonight is like that. You sit near the hearth hands, wrapped around a cup of watered wine. You share a blanket with Livia. She's braiding her hair, slowly, like it still matters. You ask her, "What's the first thing you'd buy if you got out?" She doesn't hesitate. "Boots." You blink. "Boots?" She nods. "Good ones. Leather. lined, for walking, far. You smile, not because it's funny, but because it's true. You'd get boots too. Then walk until Rome was just a rumor. Someone starts humming. You don't know the song, but you join in. The fire crackles. The city murmurs. Somewhere in the distance, a dog barks twice. You lean your head against the wall and breathe. Still here, still standing, still dreaming, even if it's just about boots. There's no such thing as privacy here. You've learned to dress with your back turned to cry, without sound, to think in fragments so no one can guess what you're thinking. Every corner of the brothel is shared. Every blanket, every bowl, every breath. But today, something strange happens. You get a letter, not handed to you, of course. That would be too civilized. It's crumpled, stained, and shoved through the door by a boy who immediately runs away. The Leno reads it first, says nothing, tosses it at your feet like trash. You pick it up. It's short, scribbled in charcoal on reused papyrus. You recognize the handwriting. It's from your brother. You hadn't thought about him in weeks, maybe months, not because you don't care, because it hurts too much to. He writes that he's in Ostia now, working at the docks. Says he's earning saving. Says maybe he can buy your freedom soon. You stare at the words until they blur. No promises, just hope. Dangerous, sweet, forbidden hope. You hide the letter under your mat. You don't show anyone, not even Livia. The rest of the day moves like molasses, slower than usual, not because you're less busy, if anything there are more clients today, but everything feels distant now, like you're moving underwater. You smile when required, nod when expected. Your hands go through the motions, but your mind is miles away, imagining ships and coins and freedom. You even start to count. How many asses would it take? How much silver? Would your brother need help? Would he need to bribe the Leno? Is it even legal for him to buy you back? Historians still debate how often Roman prostitutes were able to purchase or be gifted their freedom. Some inscriptions mention freed women who once served Venus, but they're rare. A whisper of possibility, not a promise. You whisper back, "Please, let me be rare." By mid-afternoon, you're exhausted again, not just from clients, but from the weight of pretending not to care about that letter. Then something breaks the rhythm. A fight. Two men argue in the street outside the brothel. Loud, red-faced. One accuses the other of stealing a coin, then a punch, then another. One crashes into the doorframe. The Leno pushes you and the other girls back. Don't get involved. You don't plan to. But blood spatters the doorway. A smear on the mural of Venus, another on your tunic. Eventually, city guards arrive. They drag both men away. No questions, no paperwork, just fists and rope. The brothel door closes again, like nothing happened. But you keep staring at the smear of blood. It's the same color as Celia's bandage, the same color as Livia's lips when she bites them too hard. You clean the mural, not because it matters, but because you want to feel in control of something. Then comes the strangest client of the week, a poet. He claims to be well known, says he's published in Athens and loved in Alexandria. You've never heard of him. But he pays well, and he brings figs. Real ones. He talks more than he touches. Says he's studying female forms for a new scroll. You suppress an eye roll. He asks if he can sketch you. You hesitate. But the Leno gives a nod. So you pose clothed mercifully, sitting on a stool holding a fig. He draws quickly, muttering things like exquisite sadness and quiet flame. When he's done, he hands you the parchment. It's crude, but it's you. You stare at it, You've never seen yourself before, at least not like this. Not just a body, not just a purchase. A person, in lines and shadow. He shrugs. Keep it. No one else would believe me anyway. Then he's gone. You hide the sketch with the letter. You fold them together like they're part of the same dream. That night dinner is better than usual. Someone must have bribed a vendor. There's fish, real fish, bones and all. You chew carefully and savor every bite. Livia sits beside you, barefoot humming again. You pass her a sliver of fig. She grins. Where'd you get it? From a poet. Was he handsome? No. But he saw me. She nods. She understands. The fire crackles low. The room smells like fish sweat and lavender oil someone spilled. Not bad, actually. And as you lie back, you touch the hidden pocket where your letter and drawing sit. Two small proofs that you are more than what you do. You are known. You are remembered. You are not gone yet. The door creaks before sunrise. That's never a good sign. You're half awake, still cradling the dream where you owned a pair of red shoes and walked through the forum without being stared at. But that dream vanishes the second the Leno shouts your name. He doesn't wait for a reply. Up. Now. We've got an important guest. Those words never mean anything good. Important usually translates to entitled and guest a client with permission to do whatever he wants. You sit up slowly. Your back stiff. Your mouth tastes like old metal. You rinse with vinegar water and rub your face until the color returns. Livia's already awake. She gives you a look worried, maybe. You nod. Just once. That's the language here. Tiny signals. Micro-gratitude. Silent prayers. You're led to the back room. The nice one. The one with the wooden chair that hasn't splintered completely and the curtain that sort of closes. The client is already waiting. He's older, dressed like a senator, though you don't recognize him. He has that posture, one hand resting on his belt, the other holding a small scroll like it's a declaration of war. He studies you like you're a statue in a gallery. The Leno introduces you, calls you our best. That's always a lie. You're just the one who was awake. The man doesn't speak. He points to the stool. You sit. He unwraps something, a fig, dried, cut in half. Then he speaks. They say your kind can fake anything. Your heart tightens. Not because he's wrong, but because of the way he says it. Like you're not a person. Like you're a trick, a tool, a coin-operated fantasy machine. He eats the fig slowly, watching, measuring. Then he lays out his terms. He doesn't want to sleep with you. Not exactly. He wants you to pretend. To act like you love him. Like you've missed him. Like this is the reunion of star-crossed lovers separated by cruel fate. You nod. You smile. You call him my heart and my brave one. You lean close and breathe in the scent of pine resin and rose oil. You hold his hand and trace circles on his wrist. And for 20 minutes, you become someone else. A woman who chose him, who waited for him, who whispered his name into her pillow at night. When it's over, he cries. You don't. You collect your coin, leave the room, and breathe out slowly in the hallway. Another girl passes you. That the one who wants pretending, you nod. He paid double. She shrugs. Then he gets to feel special. You go back to your corner. Sit on your folded blanket. Your knees are stiff. Your shoulders ache. But your face is still set in that soft, loving expression. It takes a few minutes to shake it off. That's the curse of performing. Sometimes the mask sticks. Quirky tidbit, some Roman prostitutes worked in what were called cubicula libidines pleasure rooms, decked out with murals, mirrors, even rotating platforms. But the majority like you got dark corners and thin curtains. The fancy stuff was mostly for show for politicians to parade their sins with style. You've never seen a rotating platform, but you've seen curtains move when no one touched them, and that's haunting enough. Later in the day, you're sent out to the forum. The Leno has a deal with a bathhouse owner. He sends you and two other girls there to drum up business, which is a polite way of saying stand around in the steam room and hope someone rich gets bored. You've done this before. The bathhouse is beautiful. Marble walls, bronze basins, warm mist curling around pillars like it's shy. But even here, even amid luxury, you're still just bait. You sit on the edge of the caldarium. Let your tunic slip just enough to invite a glance. You smile when spoken to. You touch arms gently. You laugh at bad jokes. You're good at this. A man in his 30s asks if you can read. You nod. He pulls out a wax tablet. Read this. It's a poem. Short, melancholy. He waits tense. You read it aloud, slowly, your voice echoing against stone. When you finish, he looks relieved. I wrote that, he says. Did you understand it? You did. It's about loss. About watching someone leave and pretending it doesn't hurt. You nod. It was honest. He smiles, pays you just to sit beside him a while longer. Later you return to the brothel. Your cut is small. The Lano keeps most of it. You lie back on your mat. Your muscles burn. Your chest feels tight. But you're not sad. Not tonight. Because something strange is happening. You're remembering things. Your own stories. Your own words. Not just the scripts you're forced to perform. You whisper part of the poem to yourself in the dark. She left like the sea without sound but never far. Livia hears. That yours? You pause. No, you say. But I wish it was. She nods. Still sounds true. And in a room that forgets everything you hold on to, that line like a candle in the dark, there's a myth that Romans were always clean, that their aqueducts and baths made them pristine compared to other ancient peoples. Maybe that's true for the senators, the patricians, the ladies with scented oils and silver combs. But you haven't had a proper bath in 2 weeks. Not the kind with warm water and enough time to scrub your fingernails. Not the kind where no one's staring at your chest. Your usual bath is a cloth dipped in vinegar and a whispered apology to whatever skin remains unbruised. This morning, though, the Leno announces a cleaning day. Not for you, for the brothel. Which means you do the cleaning. You wake up to a bucket, a rag, and instructions to make the place not smell like plague. He's expecting an inspection. Maybe from a magistrate. Maybe from another Leno looking to invest. Maybe just from someone with too much money and time. So you scrub. The walls are sticky with things you stopped identifying weeks ago. The floor is worse dried blood in one corner, a cracked oil lamp in another. You mop with a mixture of vinegar herbs and something that smells suspiciously like urine. Rome is creative like that. You open the shutters, let in some light. Dust dances in the air like it's been waiting for centuries to stretch its legs. Livia helps. She hums as she sweeps. She says it makes the work feel less like punishment and more like a ritual. You don't believe her, but you nod. She sprinkles dried lavender near the hearth. Someone mutters that she's wasting it. She shrugs. Better wasted on our noses than left in a jar. That girl's name is Fausta. She's older, knows the system better. Claims she once worked in a senator's private house before being sold here. You don't know if that's true. But her hands are steady and her sarcasm is sharp. I used to clean marble with a silk rag, she says, glaring at the mop. Now I use something that smells like donkey sweat. Ah, life. You laugh. It feels illegal. The front room looks halfway decent by noon. The murals are visible again. Venus reclining Mars, flexing. Livia draws a mustache on one of them with charcoal, just small enough to escape notice. You pretend not to see. Then come the real preparations. The Leno orders all of you to wear the nice tunics, the ones that don't itch immediately. He hands out cosmetics rouge, for cheeks powder, for faces, kohl for eyes. You haven't worn makeup in weeks. It feels strange now, like dressing up a ghost. You sit in front of a shard of bronze polished to a shine. Apply carefully. You don't want to look too bold that attracts the wrong kind of attention, but too pale and they'll think you're sick. It's a game you've learned to play. Fausta leans over. You've got the eyes of a hunted deer, she says. That's worth something. You raise an eyebrow. What men love, to feel like they've caught something. Just don't let them know you saw them coming. Historians still argue about Roman beauty standards, what made a woman desirable. Some say pale skin. Others say full figures. Some mention red lips. Others dark hair. But among prostitutes, it didn't matter. What mattered was malleability. Could you become what they wanted? The client of the day arrives just after the 6th hour. He's tall, clean, wearing a toga that's more expensive than anything you've ever touched. He smells like bay leaves and power. The Leno greets him personally, offers wine, offers you. You're led to the back room again. This time, it's not an act. The man wants everything and nothing. He wants to talk, to brag, to boast about his estate in Capua, his wife who doesn't understand him, his slaves who are almost like family. You nod, smile, ask questions. He never asks about you. He does, however, leave a heavy purse of coins on the stool when he goes. Enough to feed you for a week, enough to buy you real soap, maybe even real bread. The Leno keeps most of it, of course, but you get a cut, a decent one. You hide 2 coins beneath your mat, not for escape, not yet, just for something sweet later. A plum, maybe, or a honey cake. The rest of the day passes like mist, quiet. The inspection happens. A man in red sandals walks through, nods, once leaves. No one's punished, no one's praised, just another day. That night, you and Livia sit by the hearth. She's quiet. You ask, "You okay?" She shrugs. "I think I'm late." You freeze. She nods. "I'm not sure. Could be nothing. Could be..." She doesn't finish. You both stare at the fire. In Rome, a pregnancy doesn't bring celebration. Not here. Not unless the client is rich enough to care. And even then, it's a gamble. Livia hugs her knees. Maybe it won't be real. Maybe you say. You don't believe it. Neither does she. But for now, the fire is warm and the floor is clean. And the lavender still lingers faintly in the air. And for one night, that has to be enough. You wake to silence. Not the comforting kind, the eerie, pregnant kind that feels like the moment before a storm breaks. No shouting in the alley. No footsteps from above. Just stillness. Unnatural. Heavy. You sit up slowly, unsure whether to be grateful or terrified. The room is dim. Light filters through the half-shuttered window like a warning. You stretch, listening for sounds, breathing, rustling, groaning, but the other girls are unusually quiet. Even Livia, who normally wakes humming, is still. Curled in a tight ball, eyes open, staring at the wall. You approach her. Livia, you whisper. She blinks once, then nods. "I'm okay." You don't believe her, but you say nothing. There's nothing to say. You touch her shoulder. It's clammy. The Leno enters a moment later, red-faced and grumbling. He smells like he slept in wine. 2 of you on street duty today, the rest clean. I want it spotless. You volunteer for the street. Anything to get out of that room. You stand in the doorway, watching Rome unfold. The sky's overcast. The streets are slick with last night's rain, reflecting broken bits of columns and sandals and hoof prints. A young man passes by, juggling apples. He winks at you. You almost smile. Almost. Your first client is old. Not cruel, just heavy with breath that rattles like a dying bellows. He talks to himself more than to you. After he falls asleep, you leave quietly, tugging your tunic back into place. Your second client is worse. He wants to talk about politics. Says the Senate is weak, the empire is corrupt, and everything would be better if men like him were in charge. You nod. You pretend to listen. You think about drowning him in his own cup. Later, back at the brothel, you notice Livia hasn't moved. Fausta's kneeling beside her. She's hot, she says. Fever. Might be flux. You freeze. The word hits like a fist. Roman flux was the polite word for almost anything that made you lose fluids, fast dysentery, typhoid, or worse. And in a brothel, it's spread like ink in water. The Leno doesn't react well. He orders her moved to the storeroom. You volunteer to help. Together, you and Fausta lift her carefully. She groans, but doesn't speak. Her eyes flicker unfocused. The storeroom is small, dark, and cold. A pile of straw in the corner. A single oil lamp. You set her down gently. I'll check on her, you say. The Leno grunts. If she dies, burn the blanket. That's it. That's all. The rest of the day feels like walking through fog. You serve another client. You clean another floor. You press a cloth to your own forehead, convinced the fever is contagious just from thinking about it. You sneak Livia water and herbs that Fausta stole from a bathhouse garden. Nothing fancy, just mint and fennel. Enough to settle the stomach, maybe. She drinks. Barely. Is this what dying feels like? She whispers. You squeeze her hand. No, it's just a bad day. You lie so easily now. Later, Fausta joins you by the hearth. She's sharpening a hairpin on a stone. You raise an eyebrow. For defense, she says, in case he sends her out again while she's still sick. You nod. It wouldn't be the first time. Quirky detail. Some Roman brothels, especially the larger lupanaria, had their own doctors, or at least someone with medical tools. But care was minimal. Bloodletting, vinegar rinses, prayers. And girls who got too sick to earn, they vanished fast. That night, you dream. Not of red shoes, not of the sea. You dream of a small house, one room. Clay walls, a hearth in the middle. You're there. Livia's there. You're grinding grain, singing some tune you don't know in real life. The room smells like bread. You wake up hungry, and cold, and scared. In the storeroom, Livia stirs. Still here, she mumbles. You laugh. Of course you are. We haven't bought those boots yet. She smiles weakly. You bring her more water. Tuck the blanket tighter. Whisper a song you heard once in the forum, the kind that gets stuck in your ribs. Outside, the city moans like it's sick too. You press your hand to her forehead. Still warm, but maybe a little less. You let yourself hope. Just a little. Not for freedom, not for wealth. Just for her to see tomorrow. You never imagine that one of the most painful parts of this job would be your scalp. It starts with a simple tug, a braid too tight, a wig pinned wrong. But after a few weeks, the pain becomes permanent, a throb at your temples, a sting along your part, a constant itch where the lye paste burned your hairline last month. Today is presentation day, according to the Leno. That means no messy buns, no bedhead, no looking like a street beggar. His words, not yours. You're given a lump of chalk powder to whiten your face, a sliver of red lead to color your lips, and a cheap bronze mirror to do it all with. The mirror is so warped, it makes your nose look like a question mark. You do your best. Roman beauty standards are a beast all their own. Pale skin, dark-rimmed eyes, hair dyed golden, preferably with saffron or goat urine, depending on your budget. You get the second option. Your hair sizzles as the mixture is applied. You don't complain. You've learned to breathe through pain. Fausta watches you. You know that stuff rots the scalp, right? You shrug. I'll worry about my scalp when the rest of me survives. She laughs low and bitter. Across the room, another girl is adjusting her wig. It's made from real human hair, imported probably from a slave in Germania or Gaul. Blonde is fashionable right now. You wonder if the woman who lost her hair knew what it would be used for. You doubt she had a choice. Once a client told you that your eyes reminded him of his mother. You didn't know whether to feel flattered or insulted. You chose flattered. He paid extra. Today, you're not aiming for flattery. You're aiming for survival. You pinch your cheeks until they glow. You smear more rouge than necessary. The Leno nods when he sees you. Better, he says. You don't respond. Later that morning, you're taken to a small bathhouse on the Via Tecta. Not the fancy kind. More of a warm water hole with marble ambitions. A merchant has reserved a room. Wants ambience. You're part of the set dressing. You're washed by an attendant, a girl no older than 12. She scrubs your back with a rough cloth and murmurs, "You smell like rose oil." "I smell like lies," you say. She giggles. Then the merchant arrives. He's thin, sharp-nosed, wearing 5 rings and a sneer. He brings wine, too much of it. He wants you to dance first. You do. Barefoot, on wet stone. Your toes stick to the floor with each step. You sway. You smile. Then he wants you to sing. You try. Your voice cracks on the 3rd note. He frowns. Says, "That's not very professional." You bow your head. Bite your tongue. He still pays, but he doesn't tip. Back at the brothel, you check on Livia. She's still in the storeroom. Her fever's broken, but she's weak. Her voice barely a whisper. She asks for stories. You tell her about the merchant, about the 12-year-old bath girl, about the wig that fell off mid-client last week and made you both laugh until your stomach hurt. You don't mention how scared you were she wouldn't wake up. She reaches for your hand. "I saw my mother in a dream," she says. You nod. "Did she say anything?" "She told me not to stay here forever." You don't say what you're thinking. Sometimes the only way to leave is in silence. That night, you braid her hair. Slowly, gently. You hum. She hums with you. Quirky detail, ancient Roman prostitutes were sometimes buried with tokens of their trade, perfume bottles, hair combs, bits of silk. Historians still debate whether this was honor or mockery. You wonder what your grave would hold. A broken coin, a fig seed, the drawing from that poet. You hope it's the drawing. Later, Fausta passes you a small bundle. Inside, 2 combs, a lump of beeswax, and a tiny pot of coal. What's this, you ask? For when he sends you to the Temple District, you'll need to look like you belong. The Temple District, high-paying clients, priests, soldiers returning from campaign. Some brothels closer to temples specialized in sacred fantasies. goddess worship priestess reenactments. You've never worked there before? I'm not a goddess, you say. Fausta raises an eyebrow. Neither was Venus. Not really. You laugh. The next morning, you apply the beeswax. It softens your lips. The kohl makes your eyes look deeper than they are. You try the new braid, tighter, more elegant. You look in the bronze mirror. You don't recognize yourself. That's good. Maybe they won't either. The temple district smells different. Yeah, less like sweat and smoke, more like incense and money. You're not sure which is worse. The air is perfumed with burnt offerings, honeyed wine, and the faint tang of metal from nearby statues, polished on too often and too hard. You walk behind the Leno, who's dressed unusually well today. Polished shoes, a clean tunic. He doesn't speak to you on the way, just glances back now and then like he's leading livestock. At the edge of the district, a boy meets you with a message. The client is already waiting. Wealthy, influential, wants a quiet one. You are very good at being quiet. The house is modest from the outside, a clean portico, carved columns, but inside it's all opulence. Marble floors, gold-leafed lamps, a mosaic of Venus in the atrium, looking like she knows exactly what happens here and still doesn't care. You're led to a private chamber. Not a bed, but a divan. Cushions. Low light. A bronze mirror on the wall large enough to show your whole body. You hate it already. The man arrives. He's young, maybe 20. Hair oiled into careful waves. His tunic is stitched with silver thread, and his eyes never meet yours. Not once. He doesn't speak, just gestures. You know the routine. You move toward the mirror. He sits across from it, watching your reflection instead of your face. That's his kink. Seeing you twice. Seeing himself not at all. He touches nothing, just watches. You undress slowly. Drapes fall like stage curtains. You perform a play where the only audience is him and his silence. You pose. You hold still. You breathe carefully so your ribs don't interrupt the line of your body. After a while, he stands, drops a coin pouch onto the floor, leaves. He never touches you. You pick up the pouch. Heavy, more than usual. You consider hiding one coin in your sandal, but you know the Leno will count. You step back into the hallway, wrap yourself in your cloak, and walk out without looking back at the mirror. The Leno says he liked you. You say nothing. Back at the brothel, Fausta is waiting. Well, he watched you say. She nods. Better than touching. Is it? She doesn't answer. Livia's awake when you return to the storeroom. She's sitting up, sipping thin barley soup. You bring her a piece of apple. She nibbles it slowly, like she's forgotten how fruit works. She asks, "What's the temple like louder than it should be? Quieter, where it counts." You going back? I think so. There's a pause. I dreamed again, she says. About your mother. She shakes her head. About me, standing by the sea, holding a child. You don't ask if the child was hers. You don't ask who the father might have been. Some things are too fragile to speak aloud. Later that night, there's a visitor, not a client. A woman, dressed plainly, but her jewelry glitters. Her eyes are sharp. She speaks to the Leno in hushed tones. Then she points at you. You're summoned. Her son wants company. She says not unkindly. He's grieving. Lost someone in Gaul. Can't sleep. You're not sure why you're chosen, but you go. The son is maybe 17. Pale. Thin. His hands tremble. He doesn't want sex. He wants to talk. You sit with him near the brazier. He tells you about a girl he loved. Blonde. Laughed too loud. Died too young. He doesn't cry, but his voice breaks. You listen. When he falls asleep sitting up, you tuck a blanket over his knees and slip out. The mother is waiting in the hall. "Thank you," she says. "You have a gentle presence. It's the first compliment you've heard in weeks that feels real." She hands you a coin, not a bribe, a gift. You keep it. Historians still argue about what roles prostitutes played outside the act itself. Some suggest they were confidants, informal therapists, even muses. Others reduce them to transactions. But you know the truth. Sometimes you were the only person a man dared be soft around. You lie awake that night, thinking about the sea. Not running to it. Standing at its edge. Letting the waves pull at your feet like they recognize you. Maybe that's what freedom feels like. Not distance, but motion. You drift to sleep with the sound of imagined surf in your ears. And in the darkness, you dream of Livia's child. Not screaming, not crying, just laughing. Somewhere far from Rome. It's the sound of breaking ceramic that pulls you from sleep. Not dramatic, just a small shatter, the kind that says someone's dropped a cup in the next room and is too afraid to admit it. You sit up slowly. It's still dark, the kind of early morning where the oil lamps flicker like they're unsure if they want to live or die. You pull your shawl around your shoulders and move toward the noise. It's Fausta. She's barefoot, swearing under her breath as she picks up shards of a wine jug. Her thumb is bleeding. Not badly, but enough to drip. "Step back," you say. She doesn't argue. You fetch a rag and wrap her hand, the motion so automatic you almost forget where you learned it. "Stupid thing cracked on its own," she mutters. "Old clay." You nod. Old things break. She glances up. "What time is it? Too early to matter." You both sit for a moment silent. Then she says, "Livia's stronger today." You smile. She kept down soup. She asked about the sea again. She always does. Fausta leans back, her hand bandaged. You know she won't make it out of here. The words hit you like cold water. "She might." "She won't," Fausta says. "Neither will I. You maybe, but not her." You don't reply. There's no point. Sometimes silence is the only mercy left. Later you're sent to the market. Not alone, of course. Another girl comes with you to keep appearances. You're told to buy figs bread and something that smells nice. For ambiance, the Leno says. Clients like a good scent. The market is chaos. Men shouting, vendors bartering, chickens underfoot. A man in a tunic stained with purple juice offers you a fig sample. You take it. It tastes like summer too sweet, too short. You buy the things on the list, plus a sprig of mint from an old woman who presses it into your hand with a wink. Freshens the mouth, she says, and the soul. You return to the brothel to find it humming. A client is expected. Not just any client, a noble. Word is, he's a cousin of someone important. Rich, bored, generous if you play it right. The Leno selects 3 girls to prep. You're one of them. Bath, oil, new tunic. Your hair is combed until your scalp burns. Your face powdered until your cheeks ache. You're told not to speak unless spoken to. The noble arrives in a litter carried by 4 slaves. He smells like cinnamon and wine. He waves his hand like he's swatting flies. "Her," he says, pointing at you. You're taken to the private room. "The nice one again?" He talks. Not to you, at you. About politics. About his horse. About a friend who choked on a fig pit during a feast. You nod at the right times. Laugh when needed. Touch his arm when he pauses. He seems pleased. Then suddenly he stops. "You're not from Rome," he says. "No." Where you hesitate? "South. Campania." You nod. "Why not?" "My villa's in Campania," he says. You should see it. You smile. You'd like to see, he adds. You nod again. He doesn't touch you much. Just wants company. Someone who listens. When he leaves, he drops 5 coins into your hand. Don't spend it all on figs, he jokes. You don't laugh until he's gone. Back in your corner, you count the coins twice. You keep one. Hide it in the seam of your sandal. The rest go to the Leno as usual. Fausta sees the one you kept. She doesn't say anything. You visit Livia. She's stronger, sitting up, smiling. You give her the mint sprig. She sniffs it and says, "Smells like freedom." You laugh. "Smells like breath freshener." Same thing. You sit with her, your head against the wall. The brothel buzzes beyond the door. Voices, movement, the faint strum of a lyre someone's playing badly. Quirky detail. In some Roman temples, prostitutes weren't just tolerated, they were ritual. Vestals weren't sexual, but others followers of Venus or Isis might have blended sex work with spirituality. Historians disagree on where the line between worship and commerce blurred. You think about that. About whether pretending to love someone for coin could ever feel holy. Then you shake the thought. Livia rests her head on your shoulder. You close your eyes. In the dark, you picture Campania. The cliffs, the water, the horizon that doesn't end. You whisper, "We'll go someday." She doesn't reply, but she squeezes your hand. It rains all morning. Not the dramatic kind with thunder and spectacle, just a slow, sticky drizzle that seeps through walls and souls. The kind of rain that makes everything smell like mold and memories. The brothel leaks in 3 places. You know this because you've memorized where not to sit. You spend the first hour of your day shifting buckets. The Leno grumbles. Says he'll have it fixed. He won't. You've heard that since your 2nd week. The air inside is heavy. Wet. Clothes never fully dry. Hair curls. The corners of beds smell like sour milk. One of the girls, Nona, slips on a slick tile and bruises her hip. She limps the rest of the day. No one has time to coddle her. You try to keep your spirits dry even if your tunic isn't. In the afternoon, there's a lull. No clients, no errands, just nothing. You sit with Fausta by the hearth. Do you remember what silence sounds like, you ask? She snorts. This, no real silence, like a field, at night, when the only thing you hear is wind. She's quiet for a beat. Then I remember frogs. My uncle had a vineyard. Big pond behind it. At night, they'd sing. You close your eyes. Picture it. Livia joins you. Still pale, but stronger. She sits between you both like a cat, settling into warmth. I had a donkey, she says suddenly. Named him Acorn. He hated men. You all laugh. It's a strange moment, soft, unscripted. No clients. No performance. Just rain tapping the roof, and 3 women trying to remember they were once girls. Then someone knocks. Not the front door. The back. The hidden one. Fausta stands first. Her eyes narrow. She whispers, "That's a different knock." The Leno answers. You watch from the corner. The man outside is tall, cloaked, unfamiliar. He speaks low hands, something to the Leno. A scroll. Sealed. The Leno reads. His eyes widen, then narrow. He nods, points to you. Your stomach tightens. Later you learn the man is a messenger, hired, paid well, sent to fetch you. By name. Your real name. Not the brothel name. Not girl with the brown eyes. Not the quiet one. Your birth name. The one you haven't heard in months. You don't know what to feel. Suspicion tastes a lot like hope when you're not used to either. The Leno tells you to wash. You've been requested. By who, he shrugs. Someone with coin. That's all that matters. You're taken to a domus across the Tiber. Its old but beautiful columns lined with ivy mosaics in the atrium that shimmer under lamplight. A woman greets you. Not a servant, not a guard, just a woman. Middle-aged, stern, hands clasped. She looks at you too long. Then she says, "My son saw you last week. Said you listened." You blink. The quiet one. The grieving boy. The blanket over his knees. "I wanted to meet you," she continues. "I don't approve of his habits, but I respect loyalty." You nod, unsure where this is going. She gestures to a chair. You sit. She places a box on the table. Inside soap. Real soap. Olive and laurel. A hair comb. A piece of blue cloth. And coin. Why, you ask, voice low. Because girls like you shouldn't be forgotten. You don't cry. But something inside you shatters quietly. She doesn't ask anything of you. No performance. No favor. She just gives. Then go. Take the day. You leave in a daze. Walk the long way back. Past the Tiber, past the Forum, past the temple steps. The rain has stopped. The sky's still gray, but lighter. You return to the brothel like a ghost carrying treasure. You show Livia the soap. She smells it like it's perfume. Fausta touches the blue cloth and murmurs, "Sky-colored." You divide the coins equally. They don't argue. That night, no clients arrive. The Leno sulks, but no one cares. You sit by the hearth again, hair washed, faces clean. You even hum. Quirky detail. Some Roman women believed bathing with laurel soap before a full moon brought clarity. Others just liked the smell. You decide it's both. You ask Livia, "If you could change your name, what would you choose?" She thinks. "Something with water in it," she says. "Maybe Marina." You nod. That suits you. She grins. You smile. Hope. The brothel smells like roses today. Not real ones, of course. Rose oil, diluted in lamp grease, smeared on walls and curtains to fool the nose. It almost works until someone sneezes and mutters, "Smells like a sick garden." Still, it's better than vinegar and regret. The Leno is in a good mood. He's got news. There's a festival coming. One of the lesser Saturnalia offshoots something about celebrating the harvest gods. Whatever the name it means, more clients, more coin, more pretending. You're told to prepare. That means dress rehearsal. Not for a play, for roles. You'll be a shepherdess, he tells you. Innocent, sweet, fresh. You raise an eyebrow. "I'm not exactly fresh." He laughs. Then act. You're handed a tunic that's whiter than usual and a crook carved from driftwood. The irony stings. You've led enough lambs to slaughter already. Livia is cast as a harvest maiden. Her dress is green, her wreath fake laurel. She twirls once in it and grins. It's the first time she's looked like a girl instead of a ghost in weeks. Fausta is assigned the priestess role. She rolls her eyes. "Do I look like I bless things?" "Bless the wine, you say. That counts." She laughs. "I'll drink to that." The days leading to the festival are tense. More cleaning, more rehearsing. The Leno brings in a lyre player to teach you how to sway properly. Not like you're seducing, like you're worshiping. You ask, "What's the difference?" He doesn't answer. Historians still argue over how sacred and profane mixed in Roman festivals. Some temples had rituals that blurred the lines, women dressed as goddesses, men pretending to be possessed. Was it theater worship soft chaos? You think it was all of the above. On the night of the festival, the brothel is transformed. Lamps line the hallway. Flower petals are scattered, mostly wilted, but still colorful. Clients arrive in masks laughing too loud. The Leno instructs everyone to stay in character. You smile sweetly. You call yourself Flora. You offer wine and fig slices and empty compliments. One man kisses your hand and says your skin is like marble. You almost laugh. Marble doesn't bruise. Your first client is dressed as Bacchus. He smells like he took the costume literally. Wine stains his lips. He recites bad poetry and weeps halfway through. You hold him, let him sob. He thanks you with slurred sincerity. Leaves a necklace behind. The Leno keeps it. Your second is quieter, dressed as Mercury, but he never runs his mouth. He asks strange questions. What do you dream about? What's your favorite fruit? Do you believe in the gods? You say, I believe in figs. Everything else disappoints. He smiles, leaves a full denarius. Your cut is small, always is. During a break, you find Livia on the rooftop. She's lying on her back watching the stars. You'll get sick, you say. Already have, she replies. You sit beside her. She points. That one's Venus, brightest. They say she guides lovers. Lovers who can afford to look up, you say. She chuckles. Maybe she looks down too. You watch the stars together. The festival noise below fades, just a hum of drums and voices. Then she whispers, I think it's almost time. You don't ask what she means, but you take her hand. You stay there until her fingers grow cold. She's not gone. Not yet. But something's shifting. When you return downstairs, Fausta is waiting. Where were you watching the sky? Find anything. Maybe a little hope. She raises an eyebrow. That's dangerous. I know. Later that night, you undress slowly. Alone. No clients. No commands. Just silence. You take out the drawing. The one from the poet. You smooth the edges. You trace the lines. Then you add a name. Not your brothel name. Not the one you were born with. The one you chose earlier. Hope. You fold it gently and slip it into the seam of your tunic. Tomorrow will be just as hard. But for now, the night is yours. Morning arrives, not with sunlight, but with shouting. Outside, two vendors are arguing over a stolen crate. One claims olives. The other insists it was lemons. Their voices slice the air like knives waking the entire street. Inside the brothel, the mood is odd. Livia hasn't woken up yet. She's breathing soft and shallow, but her lips are dry and her skin waxy. You bring her water. Touch her forehead. Still warm. But something's changed. Like her body's here, and her spirit is waiting for the signal to go. You sit beside her. Brush a curl from her cheek. I'll take you to the sea, you whisper. Even if I have to carry you. You don't know if she hears you. The rest of the day moves like a slow parade. Your first client wants a conversation. You give him one about the best types of fish sauce. He leaves convinced you're a culinary genius. Your second client just wants to lie next to someone. No talking. No touching. Just breathing. That part you can do. When he falls asleep, you stare at the ceiling. Trace the cracks. Try to count how many lines it would take to break free. Fausta finds you after dinner. We're going out, she says. What? Just a walk. You, me. Before the Leno notices. You hesitate. Curfew is strict. Punishment stricter. She shrugs. You coming or not, you go. The street is quieter than usual. Lamps glow like distant stars. Fausta moves fast, ducking corners, avoiding crowds. She leads you to a tiny shrine wedged between two shops. It's for Mercury, god of messengers, liars, thieves. Fitting, she says. You laugh. She lights a candle. I come here sometimes. To say things I can't say in walls that listen. You look at her. What do you say? She exhales. That I'm sorry. That I'm scared. that I want something more. You nod. Me too. You both sit on the steps. She reaches into her cloak and pulls out a pouch. Inside 4 coins. Your jaw tightens. Fausta? I've been saving, she interrupts. Since last year. For what? For a bribe? For a door? For a boat? I don't know. Something. You look at her. You want to leave. I want us to leave. It hangs there. The possibility. Not freedom. Not yet. But the beginning of it. You walk back in silence. The brothel is asleep. You check on Livia. Still breathing. You whisper, wait for me. Please. That night you dream of boats. Not fancy ones, just wooden shells bobbing on gentle waves. You dream of oars, of salt spray, of lightness. You wake to the smell of ash. Someone's lit the wrong lamp. Smoke drifts through the hallway like a ghost. The Leno is furious. He slaps Nona for knocking over the oil. She bleeds. You patch her up. She doesn't cry. Doesn't hurt anymore, she says. You believe her. Later you and Fausta meet again. She shows you a route. A gate. A man who looks the other way for enough coin. It's real. It's possible. Historians still argue about how often women escaped Roman brothels. Some say it was rare. Others claim secret networks existed, slaves helping slaves, girls helping girls. Whispers in the dark. Knots in the curtain. You cling to that whisper. You plan. A day. A time. A pack. You don't tell Alino. You do tell Livia. She's lucid that night. Eyes bright, voice steady. You're running, she says. You nod. I want to come. You're not strong enough. She stares at you. I'll get strong. You squeeze her hand. We'll go slow, you whisper. By the sea. By the sea. The pact is made. The lamp burns low. Your coins are hidden. Your hope too. But not for long. You've never packed for freedom before. Turns out, it's not so different from packing for a long night shift. Just quieter. More careful. You take what matters, the comb Fausta gave you, the tiny jar of coal, the drawing with your new name, the piece of soap from the noblewoman, and 2 dried figs wrapped in cloth. You leave the crook from the festival behind. No one wants to escape dressed like a shepherdess. Livia sits up while you work. I can walk, she says. You can lean? You reply. She smiles weak, but real. Fausta enters with the pouch of coins and one final warning. We don't get second chances. If he catches us, you nod. You all know the stakes. You've seen what happens to runaways. Some don't come back. Some do missing teeth hope, or half a hand. You tie your sandals tight. Fausta checks the hallway. Clear. The night is thick with heat. Rome doesn't sleep. Not really. It just shifts from yelling to whispering. You slide past the creaking shutters and step into the street like shadows come to life. Fausta leads. You hold Livia's arm. Every footstep sounds louder than thunder. The city isn't quiet, it hums. Street dogs bark. A man laughs drunkenly in the distance. You pass a sleeping beggar, wrapped in a cloak, more whole than fabric. He stirs but doesn't wake. You reach the gate. The man is there. He's young, greasy, but his eyes are calm. He takes the coins Fausta gives him and nods. 2 streets down, he says. Green door. Knock twice, pause, knock once. Don't look back. You follow his directions. The green door is real. The knock echoes like a heartbeat. A woman answers. She's older, barefoot, and armed with a ladle that's seen more fights than meals. She eyes you all and says, well, you step inside. It's small, cramped. Smells like soup and damp stone. But it's safe. For now. She gives you bread and water. Lets you sleep on the floor. No questions asked. You sleep in shifts. Fausta watches first, then you, then Livia, though you barely trust her to stay awake. The woman says her name is Tertia, says she's helped girls before. Some made it to Ostia, some didn't. You ask what about ships? She shrugs. Sometimes. If the captain's drunk enough, you stay 2 days, long enough to rest, wash, listen. The Leno hasn't sent guards. Yet, you help Tertia chop onions. She doesn't ask who you were, just lets you work. She tells you about her daughter, ran off with a scribe. Lives near Neapolis now. Sends letters. Spelled wrong, but sweet. You wonder what kind of letter you'd write. Probably short. Dear, whoever I made it past the gate. The sea's real. I remembered my name. I'm not hers anymore. Livia sleeps a lot, but when she's awake, she asks questions. What's Campania like? Do olives really grow on trees? Will she see dolphins? You answer yes to all of it. Fausta scouts. Finds a fisherman. Old. Suspicious. Willing. We leave at dusk, she says. Boat small. Room for 4. You don't ask the price. You all know what it costs. Tertia gives you a bundle of bread and dried meat. Presses a hand to your shoulder. Don't die, she says. Makes the rest of us look bad. You laugh. Almost cry. You leave through the back. The docks are misty quiet. The boat is barely seaworthy, but it floats. You help Livia climb in. Fausta checks behind. No shouts. No footsteps. The fisherman grunts. Sit. You do. The oars creak. The city fades. You watch it disappear brick by brick, lamplight by lamplight, memory by memory. Quirky detail. Roman prostitutes weren't allowed to be buried with honor. No family rites. No public mourning. Just ditches often unmarked. Historians still argue if that was law or tradition. Either way, you think not me. Not her. Not us. The sea opens before you. Dark. Endless. But free. The boat rocks like it's drunk. Waves slap its sides in lazy rhythms. Seagulls cry above like they know something you don't. Salt wind stings your lips. Livia lies against your chest, her breath thin but steady. Fausta sits at the front, scanning the horizon like a hawk in a cloak. The fisherman doesn't speak, just rows. His arms move like machines swing, pull, dip, repeat. Every now and then, he spits into the sea like it's part of the ritual. You try not to vomit. Land fades behind you until Rome becomes just a smudge of sin on the skyline. You don't look back. Neither does Fausta. You think of the brothel's hearth, the cracked wall, the smell of cheap rose oil. You think of Nona's limp, the sound of the Leno's door slamming, the taste of cold barley soup. You don't miss it, not one breath of it. You hold Livia's hand. She murmurs something in her sleep, maybe a prayer, maybe a recipe. You smile anyway. The fisherman grunts. Halfway. Fausta eyes him. You sure? He shrugs. Or not. You grip the boat tighter. By mid-morning, the sun breaks through the clouds. The sea turns from black to sapphire. It's almost beautiful if you ignore the stench of fish and sweat and fear. Livia wakes. Her eyes flutter. She squints at the water. We're moving. You nod. Fast as we can. She smiles. Feels like flying. You don't say anything. Just brush her hair back and pretend you're not crying. Around noon, the fisherman points. There. That's the dock. You squint. A thin strip of land. Wooden posts. A hut. A cove sheltered from the wind. You made it. Not to a city, not to salvation, but to a stop. A pause. A maybe. You step onto the dock like it might vanish beneath your feet. The wood creaks. Birds scatter. The wind shifts. Livia clutches your arm. Fausta helps her walk. The fisherman doesn't wait. He rows off with the same silence he arrived in. No goodbye, no nod. You don't blame him. The hut is empty, abandoned. Inside, 3 crates, a broken stool, and a tarp that smells like old wine. You make it home anyway. Fausta catches a crab. You roast it over driftwood. It tastes like ash and victory. Livia eats 2 bites and falls asleep. That night the stars are clear. You name them. That's hope, you say. Next to strength, near silence. Fausta scoffs. You can't just make up constellations? Why not men did? She laughs. Fair. You sit with your feet in the surf. Historians still argue whether prostitutes ever found peace after escape. Some say they were hunted. Others say they vanished into marriage or servitude or anonymity. You hope to vanish into something better. Fausta lies back, arms behind her head. Tomorrow we find the road, see where it leads. You nod. Do we go north or south, you ask? Whichever smells less like dead fish. You laugh. The sound startles a bird. You don't care. You're alive. Morning arrives with color. Not the dull gray of Rome, but real color. Golden light across the waves. Pink streaks in the sky. Green glimmers on the hillside beyond the cove. Even the wind feels different. Fresher. Less like command. More like invitation. Livia wakes first. She sits up without help. Looks at the sea like she owns it. I dreamed of olives, she says. Big ones. Green or black, you ask. Both. And bread. You're ambitious. She smiles. I'm hungry. You take that as a good sign. Fausta is already up barefoot in the surf, catching more crabs, or just pretending to. She looks lighter. Not softer, but like she's breathing more deeply. Like she remembers what a full lung feels like. You eat breakfast quietly. Dried meat. Water. A single fig. Shared like a sacrament. Then you gather your things. What little you brought. What more you've become. The road leading inland is narrow and dusty. It snakes between hills, past olive trees and crooked fences. There are no guards, no torches, no shouting. You walk. Livia leans on your shoulder, but she walks. Fausta leads always one step ahead. The silence is gentle. A mile in, you pass a vineyard. A boy waves. You wave back. You don't stop. Not yet. You reach a crossroads. One path heads north toward Ostia, the ports, the cities. The other veers south toward the countryside, the forgotten towns, the places where no one asks questions. Fausta turns. What do you want? You hesitate. Freedom is a strange thing. It's heavy. It rattles in your pocket like unfamiliar coins. Livia whispers, south. I want trees. You smile. South it is. The road is rough but kind. You pass a shrine to Mercury. You stop, light a stick of incense you stole from the brothel, and whisper thanks. Not for miracles, just for the breath in your lungs and the dust on your feet. You stop in a village at dusk. Small. Quiet. You ask for water. A woman offers bread instead. You ask for work. A man points to a vineyard. They need hands. He doesn't ask names. You work the next morning, cutting vines, hauling baskets. You get blisters. You don't care. You earn 3 coins. Livia helps sort grapes. Fausta flirts with the foreman, not for favors, just for fun. That night you sleep on straw. On purpose. You lie awake. Not from fear. From possibility. Quirky detail. In Roman rural towns, runaway slaves could sometimes blend in if they kept their heads down. Changed their names. Worked hard. Some married. Some started inns. Some vanished into the census as freeborn when no one remembered otherwise. You imagine becoming a baker, or a singer, or a mother. You imagine Livia with her own vineyard. Fausta running a tavern full of loud jokes and louder wine. You imagine a name carved into wood not for ownership, but for memory. Not property of, just was here. The moon rises. You whisper to it, not hers anymore. And the moon, ancient and silent, does not disagree. You wake to the smell of crushed grapes, sweet, sour, sticky in the air. It clings to your skin and makes your hands purple. You've been working at the vineyard for a week now. No one's asked where you came from. You're just another face in the sun, another set of hands on the harvest. And it's enough. Fausta jokes less now. Not because she's unhappy, but because she's focused. She's saving. Again. But this time it's not for escape. It's for seed. A shop maybe. A stall in the market. She's already asked around about bread ovens. Livia hums when she works. Her strength is coming back. Her smile is real. She's made friends with a goat. You don't ask questions. At night you sit outside the farmhouse, legs dangling off a ledge. The stars are clearer here. No lamps, no smog, just open sky. You can see every fleck, every shimmer. You start naming them again. Not after gods, after people you want to remember. That one's Nona, you whisper. Fausta nods. That one's Tertia. Livia points. That one's Acorn. You laugh. You talk about building a house, not a mansion, not a villa. Just a place with a roof that doesn't leak, and a door you can lock from the inside, and a bed that no one else claims. You ask Fausta, what would you paint on your walls? She says nothing. Just windows. You ask Livia, what would you name your vineyard? She says quiet joy. You don't have an answer for your own question. Not yet. But you will. In the village, a woman offers you cloth scraps. You sew a tunic for Livia. It's crooked. She loves it. A baker gives you stale bread for free. You cry over it more than you did the night you escaped. Because kindness is harder to bear than cruelty when you're not used to it. You dream less now. You live more. You let yourself be tired from work, not worry. You let yourself plan for tomorrow without fear. You let yourself become someone new, not born again, just remembered. Quirky detail. In rural Roman towns, names mattered less than actions. A girl could call herself anything if she picked grapes well and didn't start fights. The census didn't care if you'd once worn red shoes behind locked doors. So you start using your new name out loud. Hope you say when someone asks. And no one flinches. No one questions. They just nod and smile. You hang the poet's drawing on the inside of a cupboard. You trace the lines at night. You add to it olive trees, a goat, a crooked house. It's not art. It's truth. One day, Livia dances. No music, just motion. You and Fausta clap until your hands ache. You write it down in your head. Today we danced for nothing. No coin, no client, no reason, just joy, just breath, just now. The stars feel closer now, like they're leaning down to listen, like they know your name. All of them, even the one you made up. The wind softens. The night stretches. The trees murmur their lullabies in a language you almost understand. It smells like earth, like smoke, like something baking slowly in a safe oven. You lie back. Feel the ache in your bones settle into something like peace. Not perfect, not permanent, but real and earned. Livia's breathing is steady beside you. Fausta snores, and you're grateful for it. You close your eyes. Let the silence hold you. You remember the sea, the figs, the red shoes you never wore. You remember what it felt like to be seen, to be believed, to be free. You're not forgotten. You are not lost. You are simply here.